So we are up to the 6th chapter of Ethics of the Fathers, meaning this coming Sabbath is the final Sabbath before the holiday of Shavuos, which is the next week, Friday and Saturday. So we are going to be looking at the 6th chapter. The 6th chapter focuses on Torah. And if you remember, I told you this chapter was actually not part of the original Mishnah of Fathers, of Ethics of the Fathers. This is a 6th chapter, very similar in style, said by the same sages, but didn't make the cut. Didn't get into Mishnah. It's what's called technically a brisa outside of the Mishnah, but it's incorporated because 6 weeks between Passover and Shavuos, and we have every week another chapter to help us approach and ascend for the giving of the Torah. Because next week on the holiday, which will be Friday and Saturday, God will one more time, he's been doing this for over 3,300 times, but for one more time, he will again give the Torah to the world. And therefore, we are preparing ourselves. We are marching toward that spiritual height. There's a number of things we do to prepare, and one of them is through the study of this work of Ethics of the Father. So we're looking in chapter 6. I'm going to start with the 5th one. Now, the 5th one says, do not seek greatness for yourself. Do not covet honor. Let your deeds exceed your learning. Do not yearn for the table of kings, for your table is greater than theirs, and your crown is greater than theirs, and your employer is trustworthy to pay you remuneration for your deeds. Very, very powerful, very simple concepts, very powerful concepts. We're going to start with the final one because I think that final point is so powerful and practical. Your employer is trustworthy. God repays. For every good thing you have ever done, your entire life, God repays. Literally, I was thinking about this concept. I was obsessing a bit on this concept over the Sabbath and really thinking, not that I'm thinking of all the things I've done, that I'll leave on God's, reckoning table, but all the ways I see the repayment. And I think that's very important for us to stop sometimes, pause, and reflect on that. God repays. He will never, ever be in a situation that we gave him more than he gave us. Never. He will never allow that. He's God. We're man. So he's always the giver. Well, we give him all the time. Whatever we give him, he pays us back so much more that never, never, never could a human ever say to God, God, you owe me. I gave you and you didn't come through. I gave you and you didn't repay. God says, never. Impossible. Maybe you're not looking. Maybe your eyes aren't seeing the special blessings. Maybe you're not appreciating them. Maybe you're not connecting them to God. But if your eyes are open and you're thinking and you're noting all the blessings in your life, no, God always repays. Who has seen this in their life that they can really say, oh yeah, I see God always repays? Okay, me and Carol, we have our hands raised. Anyone else? You can raise a real hand or a virtual hand. And Sabra.
I am.
And Dixie. And someone just sent up a virtual thumb, but I couldn't catch who it was.
It was me, Kim.
Oh, Kim. Oh, good. We got to hear your voice, Kim. I know you said
You know what? I fixed my audio mute today.
Oh, you figured it out.
Yes.
Okay, good, good. So nice to hear your voice. So Kim sent up a virtual thumb that was flying across my screen. Yeah, there's another one. And clapping hands. Yes, we're very happy that Kim's voice can be heard. And Jenny, I see her thumb up. Seems almost everyone here has said yes. I would wish that everyone would say yes, because guess what? The answer is yes. You ask the question and you know the answer before the question. I know that God repays. I know that there's no one here that has ever given to God and he has not repaid. But sometimes we might not connect the dots. We might not view it as repayment. We might not note the blessing. We might say, oh yeah, that happened. That worked out. We might even say, thank God it worked out. But even as we say, thank God it worked out, we don't necessarily think God is the one who's making it work out. He is sending me this gift. He is sending me this blessing. And it's in the big and it's in the little. Yesterday, I was not feeling well. As you can see, I still have a cold. I was worse yesterday and I was worse the day before and the day before. So this is already better. But I noticed, which I didn't see minute by minute, but at the end of the day, it's Sabbath. It's a long day. It's basically me and my son together all day, which is usually fine because I have the time. It's Sabbath, but I wasn't feeling well. And reflecting on the day, I'm like, he was so good. He was like unusually good, unusually easy all day long. Now, does that mean he was only easy and good? A few moments, but like 95% of the time for sure. And I was like, that was obviously God. He knew I wasn't up to par, so he made it easier. And many other details, like details upon details of little things that happened yesterday and every day, where we just see God sending us little love notes, sending us little gifts, another little gift, another little gift. And then, of course, in the big strokes, saying I was really obsessing on this yesterday. And I was just thinking of everything in my life, like everything that I value in my life and that I think of when I'm making a counting of my life. And in every area, I could just see God's hand. So do I know what created what? No, that God knows. But do I know absolutely that everything I've ever done, God has repaid me far greater than my act? Yes. From what I see, I can extrapolate and understand God's trustworthy. There's an expression, it says, expressions in the Yiddish language. Translate to English, it's God will never be beholden to you. God will never be in debt to you. That's probably more accurate translation. God will never be the debtor. So it doesn't mean God will never be in debt to you. God will never be a debtor. Whatever you've done for him, he's always making sure he gives you back far, far more. Now, we could say, well, I mean, I don't want to be so petty and I don't want to be like, I tit for tat. I don't want to serve just like checking my watch, so to speak, on God's rewarding. But this is part of Torah. We just read this inside. No, your employer is trustworthy. He always will pay back. So that means it's appropriate for us. Obviously, I don't think it should be every day. That's what we need to keep us pushing us. But when you need it, when you need something to motivate you, maybe when you're feeling a little down about some things in your life, maybe you're not feeling so blessed, think over everything, see his responses, his blessings, and know that God is very trustworthy and that God is truly, truly, truly giving me so much more than I ever give him, and be motivated to give him even more. When you think about this, or when you notice yourself, God's response, God's payback, does this motivate you to do more? Or what's your response to it when you see that? Because almost everyone raised their hand. So what do you feel when you think or note that, wow, God is really paying me back? I can say for myself, it's a very comforting thought. And it's a very reassuring thought. Like, I know my life is safe. I know we're okay. I know God always pays back. So I know he's taking good care of us. So for me, it's very reassuring. It's very comforting when I think back. What's your feeling or your response when you notice how God always pays back? Kim, did you just say something?
Yeah, sorry. I said very grateful.
Grateful. Grateful. Yes, that's a very, very appropriate response. To be grateful for the good and thankful and not feeling, well, of course he's giving me all this. Look what I give him. No, that would not be appropriate.
No.
Because he's giving you so much more. So grateful, thankful, almost you could say humbled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Humbled when you see, wow, what I'm doing and what he's doing for me, what he's done for me. It's grateful, it's thankful, and it's very humbling. Anyone else? Any other feeling tones or responses? Does it motivate you to do more?
I read a book called The Unearned Gifts That God Gives You. And that opened my eyes to realize how much more he bestows upon us in big and little ways if we're looking for him. And helps us to understand that we can trust him, that he's there, he's guiding us, and when we do good, he acknowledges it to us so that we know that we have done well and wants us to continue that path.
So that's interesting. What Carol's saying, how she ended off that was that God wants us to continue that path.
Mm-hmm.
So what she's saying is, as she notices God's repayment, she does view this as like a motivation for her to do more. God's saying, I so appreciate it. And Carol's saying, wow, I so appreciate that you appreciate me. And I just want to serve you even more.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Sabra?
Well, God gave me a mitzvah to do for a gentleman who has Parkinson's and his wife. And it was very unexpected, but I just did it. And afterwards, I just connected the dots. You know, I'd taken care of my husband who had Parkinson's for so many years. And here I got a mitzvah to do something for someone else. And it made me feel like, well, maybe I did a good job, you know, in the past. And so now I'm staying in touch with this couple. It prompts me to do more.
Well, I think that's beautiful what you're saying, because you're looking at it like God's sending you this good deed. God's sending you the opportunity to help someone else. You're viewing as part of God's repayment because God's keeping me in his service.
Yes.
God's saying, oh, Sabra, you're a good worker. Great. Here's something else you could do for me. And
Yeah.
Sabra says, I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm so appreciative that you're sending me more job assignments, because of course we are, because we want to give to God. And sometimes we might feel like, how, where, what? And God says, don't worry. You want to give to me? I'll send it in your path. So that's really beautiful. We
Well,
should
he
all
kind of
feel.
did that to me this week.
Oh, okay.
This
You also
past
got
week.
that.
I was on Facebook and a person I know came on and says, I have a need for this and this. And I had it.
Oh,
Everything
wow.
she needed. And she says, how much? I said, it's yours. You know, I don't need it. You need it. Here it is. And I gave it to her and it worked out just fine. So, you know, you look for things and then you just give generously. You don't ask for things back because you're helping somebody. You do it because God has given you an opportunity to help another human being.
Right. So you're saying, like Sabra, that fact that you could help was a gift of God.
Mhm.
And then
Yes.
you seize the gift and hug the gift and appreciate the gift. And a gift keeps giving. So it keeps coming back at you, which is very beautiful.
And you know what I think I got from God? I have very poor eyesight, in case anybody doesn't know, because I have glaucoma and macular degeneration. I crochet, but it was getting hard, and one of my lamps went out that I use for task lighting, and we didn't have the money. God provided the money, and we will have the light on Wednesday so I can go back to crocheting.
Oh, nice. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It gave you what you needed. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And
That's
you know,
beautiful.
I wasn't expecting that. I was going to keep trying because I can crochet, but very slowly without seeing, but it's very slow. Anyway,
That's
I'm going to get
beautiful.
a light.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any thoughts on this? All right. So let's just look. We jumped to the end of that because I felt that was so powerful. But let's just review the other details, right? So it started, do not seek greatness for yourself. Do not covet honor. Because obviously that's human nature. We'd like to be appreciated. We'd like to be respected. We'd like to be acknowledged. And almost like Carol just said about the light. She said she wasn't expecting to get it. It was more money than she could afford. She like, whatever, move on. And God sent it. So we say the same thing about honor. We say that those that seek honor, honor runs away from them. If you're not looking, it might find you. But if you're looking, it's a big problem, obviously, because if you're looking for honor, you might end up doing things like not appropriate for the sake of keeping, maintaining, receiving that honor. And we want you to do things straight, in the right way, the real way. Let your deeds exceed your learning. That's also very interesting because if you remember, I told you this chapter is devoted to Torah, which means to Torah study, which means to learning. So in a chapter devoted to learning, our sages still say, do more than you learn. So everyone should sort of think about that for themselves in terms of, okay, how much do I learn? How much do I do? Is the balance correct? Which means I do more than I learn. And of course, God would love us to learn a lot. And if you have the time and the ability and the resources and you're learning a lot, that's exactly what God wants. And he still wants you to do more than you learn. Why? Any thoughts why God would want us to do more than we learn?
We learn by doing.
Okay, that's a good answer. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Why would God want us to do more than we learn? God so much wants us to learn. Why does he want us to do even more?
To apply what we've learned.
That's very good. Anyone else?
Maybe to trust that the learning will come and just go ahead and do it.
So you're saying do the action and don't wait to feel you've learned enough to do, but just put it into practice and trust as you're doing, you will learn more and more. Great. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on this? Because it's interesting. You think like, why? Doesn't God just want me to learn and learn and learn and connect him so deeply through learning? Yeah, Mary?
I think God wants me to be a channel for his love.
So the doing is how you impact the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly, that's a very, very practical point, meaning Torah studying God's will and wisdom is incredible. It is our biggest opportunity to be one with God. I will never be as close to God as I am when I learn Torah. Never. No commandment, no good deed, no charity, no kindness, no mitzvah equals my relationship to God when I study Torah. It's the ultimate point of closeness. But similar to what Mary said, God put me in this world to affect the world, to change the world, to make the world a more godly place. So I'm not really impacting the world when I study Torah. I'm more impacting myself and make myself godly. But when I go out and do the deed, I'm changing the world. So what's the value of Torah study? To fill me up with God's light. And then what am I supposed to do with all that light? I'm supposed to go out and let it shine in the world. So in the end, the real goal is the commandment. The real goal is to be in the world, changing the world, refining the world, bringing the world closer to God. But what gives me the inspiration and impetus and power to do that? My Torah study. So my Torah study is vital to energize me to be out in the world and do even more good. So as I study, I gain the energy. I'm pulling on God. God and me are so one. And then with that power of God inside of me, I have the catalyst. I'm motivated to do and do and do and make this world a very godly place. So in essence, the sages are saying, make the balance on the side of doing. Your doing should exceed your Torah study because that's sort of like the point of it all. But I need lots of Torah study to have lots of energy and drive and enthusiasm and clarity of vision to stay focused and give and give and give God through impacting the world.
May I say something, please?
Sure, absolutely, Sandy.
I see it as being, instead of relying on myself, I have that opportunity to rely on my Heavenly Father. So that's where I can see you do what you've learned, but instead of relying on just self, what I've learned, I tap into my Father and he gives me the ability to do more.
I think that's sort of like what Sandra was saying. Not Sandra, Sabra.
That's okay.
Sabra, what Sabra was saying. Sorry, Sabra, I know your name.
That's okay.
Because Sabra also, I think maybe from a different angle, I think she was sort of coming to that same point of like, I don't want to feel like I have to keep learning until I really know it and then go out and do. I'm going to learn, obviously, and then I'm going to do and like trust the wisdom, the knowledge will come. And I think sort of, Sandy, you're sort of going that same direction. Like I could feel like, oh, I need to, first, I'm not ready. Let me learn more. I'm not ready. Let me learn more. And like, I'm going to trust God. I'm learning. And obviously it's not like we learn, we're done learning, now go and do. Obviously we're constantly learning and doing and learning and doing and learning and doing. But we're trusting that with the little bit that we have, we can already go out and change the world because God is going to help. I think that's Sandy's point, and that's very true. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on this? So then the final point we were saying is Don't yearn for the table of kings. Don't want their crowns. Your table is better than theirs. Your crown is better than theirs. What are the sages telling us with this? Your table is better than the table of kings. Your crown is better than the crown of kings. What's the message in this for us? What are the sages telling us? What does that mean? My table is better. Where's my crown? I haven't noticed it. What's the crown? What's the table? What? Of course, there's deep levels, but I'm saying on the surface, basic meaning. What is the message of the sages for me here?
That would go back to being thankful for what you've been given and not to want more and more and more.
Thankful for what I've been given, not looking for more. And I would say something else as well, but I think what Sandy is right. It's gratitude. Don't make eyes so big. Nature of the human is, as we said before, you have 100, you want 200, you have 200, you want 400, you have 400, you want 800. That's human nature. So stop, appreciate. But what else do you think?
It's being content with what you have been given.
Being content, being thankful, being grateful. What else? So what are the sages saying to say my table is better than the king's table? My crown is better than the king's crown. What are things going on my table? Where's this crown of mine? What are they saying? So I agree with Sandy. I think everything she said is very correct. But I think there's another piece that's a very strong message here. I don't know what was on your table tonight, but your table is better than what they're, serving on the White House, or your furniture is more exquisite and more fancy than theirs. What do our sages saying? Your table is better. Your crown is better. What message also are they telling us? I agree with Sandy. Gratitude, thankful, appreciative. All your needs are met. Don't have big eyes and think you don't have. But what else?
If you're the king, you've got a lot of responsibility and a lot of people giving you a lot of pats on the back. Many times, not even for things that you've done or not even right. If you are just an ordinary person, you have more control. You can give without having to worry about anybody else seeing it or acknowledging it. You can have freedom to do what God wants you to do without the world watching.
Okay, so Carol is saying that in essence, the sages are saying you wouldn't want to be a king. So your crown and table is better than theirs. That could be, but I was looking at it in a different way. Any other thoughts? What could the sages mean that my table and crown are better than theirs? So Sandy went in the direction of gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation and inner tranquility. All of my needs are met. And I think that definitely is a message here. But I think there's also another message. Anyone see any other messages?
Could it be that because the king has so many responsibilities, he's got other things on his mind besides Torah study? So because we don't have the king's responsibility, we can get closer to God?
So I think that's sort of like what Carol was saying. Natalie is saying, like, Carol, you wouldn't want to be the king. Trust me, you're better off. That's what Carol was saying. That's what Natalie's saying in different words, but a similar theme. Any other ideas, Mary?
I think me being a king is the pinnacle of worldly success and having a lot of power and wealth. But we have the crown, we have the crown of God. And he's saying that's more important.
That's the direction I was going. Meaning, I'm not disagreeing with Carol and Natalie. Maybe the message is you really wouldn't want to be a king, and that there's validity in that. I liked what Sandy said. Appreciate what you have. All your needs are met. Your table is everything you need. Your crown is everything you need. But I was most feeling like what Mary was saying now, that what does this mean, my table, my crown? And that maybe, I'm saying, just looking at the surface of what's written here, maybe the message of the sages is don't get distracted by what the world would call a really great table or a really exquisite crown. Your table is better. Your crown is better. What do you think is on my crown? What's on my table? God. Your table, your food, where people sit, where people communicate, that's a place where God is found. Your crown, the crown of your accomplishments, of your achievements, of everything you've dedicated your life to. The crown is what encompasses the head on top, the totality. Yeah, it might not be diamonds and pearls and rubies. It's something far greater. It's a relationship to God. So the world could say, oh, that's a nice table. That's a nice crown. And the sages are saying, don't get distracted. Your table is more beautiful. Your crown is more beautiful. What you're achieving is more precious, is more priceless than any crown, than any table. The world could put price tags on things. The world could say, that's a nice table. That's a nice crown. And we could get distracted and think, oh, yeah, I don't have it. And go back to what Sandy said. Your eyes are like, ooh, I'm lacking. I don't have such a table. I'm lacking. I don't have such a crown. And she said correctly, appreciate the crown and table you have. And I'm saying even more, understand yours is better. It's priceless. You have a relationship to God around your table as your crown. That's priceless. Can't buy it, and worth far, far, far more than anything else, which sort of rolls into the next Mishnah we will be discussing. And again, of course, the end of it is the point we started with first. Know that God is very faithful in repaying. This was the 5th. Now let's jump to the 9th. So the 9th is a story, sort of a long story. Maybe I will tell it to you instead of reading it word for word. A sage, Yossi ben Kisma, said, once I was walking on the road and a man stopped me and he greeted me and he said to me, Rabbi, what place are you from? And I, the sage talking, said, oh, I'm from a city of many, many sages, much Torah. And he said, Rabbi, would you be willing to come live with us? Meaning, we don't have any sages or any Torah in my city. And if you come live with us, I will give you 1,000,000 golden coins, precious stones, and pearls. Like 1,000,000, even today, 1,000,000 coins of gold. Could you imagine that? Talking about some 2,000 years ago, 1,000,000 golden coins. And I said to him, this sage is saying, if you would give me all the silver and gold, all the precious stones, all the pearls in the world, I would live nowhere but in a place of Torah. And then he quotes various passages to prove this. And then he says, based on proof text, that basically there's nothing else you could take with you. Torah should be with us every step. When we walk, when we sit down, when we're in our home, when we're outside, it's all about God. It's all about Torah. And even in the grave, it comes with us. And nothing else does. Not only does it watch over you in the grave, it comes with you even in the world to come. And it also says, God says, mine is the silver and mine is the gold. So says God. Now, this is a very interesting story because we could say, what? If someone wants a sage to come to a place of no Torah, shouldn't he run to the opportunity? Don't we do that all the time? So obviously to understand, it wasn't that this obviously very, very, very wealthy man was saying, come and inspire us and teach us your Torah, because then obviously he should do it for free. Maybe pay his living expenses. So that wasn't exactly what was going on here. It was more like, oh, this would be a beautiful thing to have in our city. We have beautiful attractions. Let's have a Torah sage. And he said, no, I'm not a museum piece. But you're giving me 1,000,000 pieces. I'm giving you 1,000,000 pieces of gold. He says, so what? Well, you could buy a lot of things. He said, so what will that do for me? What do you mean? You could have a bigger and a blah, 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 blah. He says, so what? Ultimately, it's nothingness. What I take with me is my Torah. Can't take any of this stuff with me. This stuff isn't going to the grave with me. This stuff isn't going to the world to come with me. What continues with me is my Torah. And in terms of finances, mine is a silver, mine is a gold. So says God. Whatever I'm supposed to get, God will provide. If I don't have 1,000,000 pieces of gold, obviously that's not what God wants me to have. That's not what I need. But my needs will always be taken care of. My needs will always be met. So this is really, really expressing very strongly the theme, what escorts you out of this world? You can leave this world rich. You can leave this world poor. You can leave this world laden. You can leave this world naked. I somehow feel that this is almost even more true for a Noahide than for a Jew, though obviously it's very true for a Jew, and this was said by a Jew to Jews. But this is very, very strong thought. All the good we do, all the service of God, that lasts forever. That will always be there for us. In this world, as we were saying before in the 5th section, the 5th Mishnah, God never is indebted to us. Every good thing we do, he always pays back. And now in this 9th section, not only does he pay back, which we know and basically all saw, but it pays forward. It escorts us to the grave. It escorts us to the world to come. And sometimes when people pass away, and I know they really served God their whole life, and I feel like, I don't know if the word is comforted, but I know they're okay. I know they did a lot of good. I know they're okay. I know they're fine. I know they're wonderful. We might mourn, and we do. We might suffer the loss, and we do. But they're in a great place. And sometimes people pass away, and unfortunately, they didn't serve God too much in their life. And that's a real pain. And I feel so bad because they don't have so much to escort them with. So as I said, especially for a Noahide, because a Noahide truly creates their world to come through all the deeds they do as a Noahide. That is literally building your reality in the world to come. And every person you love in this world, you would want to help them also, as much as you can, find God, acknowledge God, connect to God, serve God, because this is literally the fabric of their eternity, literally based on every way they have served God in this world. And again, not that you should be living with a death mentality, We're supposed to be living now and trusting in now and serving God now. But at the same time, it's more valuable than your, I don't know, Roth IRA. It's, people spend their whole life saving for their retirement or not. We don't have to be conscious. We don't have to be focused. We don't have to be aware. Every good deed we do our entire life, every moment of service, of acknowledging God and doing the deed He wants because of our relationship with Him, that automatically is in the investment account. That automatically is protecting us in this world, is protecting us after life, is protecting and there for us in the world to come. Automatic investment in eternity, now, in the future, and even after that. So for some people, this would really make them feel like, whoa, I should do more. For other people, it might make them think, whoa, I want to help other people in my life do. Not worried for myself, but I have so many people I love and maybe they aren't connected to God. I'm not worried about how I leave this world, but I don't want them to leave naked. I want them to be connected as well. There's a famous story, I think I've said in other contexts, of a very famous Roman convert whose name was Onkelos. That was his Jewish name. And I'm pretty sure I've said this story before, so I'll say it briefly. But he was actually the nephew of the Caesar of Rome. And when he realized he had to convert, he knew he couldn't do it in Rome. He had to find a pretext to leave the palace, to get out of the city, to be in a place where nobody knows him and he can become a Jew. And to do so, he said to his uncle, the Caesar, I don't want to just be this pampered prince that sits around and does nothing. I want to make money myself. I want to go around the world and make myself. His uncle said, oh, that's beautiful. Great. I appreciate that. So the nephew said to his uncle, tell me, do you have any good business advice for me? He said, yeah, I do. Look around in the world and look for something that you see as precious, but the world doesn't get its worth, and buy up a lot of it, take it all in. And then when the world recognizes, you'll be able to cash it all in and make fortune. I said, oh, wow, thank you. That's great advice. And he went off and he converted. And his uncle found out and was furious and tried with 3 different legions of soldiers to drag him back to Rome, to have him executed for the audacity of doing something so horrible to disgrace the whole royal family. Well, that didn't happen. And eventually, Onkelos knew he was safe. He was a very, very, very holy sage. He converted and he was very, very holy Jew. So he knew he'd be safe. He went back to the palace himself. And his uncle said, what'd you do? What a disgrace to the family. And he said, I listened to your advice. My advice? He said, yes. You said, look in the world and see what's precious, but the world doesn't realize. Stock it all up so you'll cash in. He said, that's exactly what I did. That's Judaism. In other words, that's serving God. So for everyone, for every Noahide, for every Jew, that's what we're doing. We're looking at what's now so accessible. Serving a God is as accessible as any second of time, as any place where you are, as in any situation. You can always serve God. It doesn't have to come with any physical price tag. Your mind, your heart is aligned with God. Your belief is God. You're processing the world through a God reality. You're loving God. You're fearing God. You're serving Him. It's cheap. It's free. And we just are taking it all in, because there'll be a time when its value will be recognized. But everything we did before, wow, look at that value. It's like I tell my children, not recently, my children are already older. When they were younger, we have outside our house a flag to welcome Mashiach, the redemption. And at various points, I've told my children at their various ages and stages, you see our flag is tattered and old. It's suffered through all Chicago seasons for many years. Guess what? When the redemption comes, everyone's going to have this flag. And their flags will all be new and beautiful and fresh. But we're going to have our old one because it went through the wars with us. It went through the exile with us. And that's true of everything we do. Everything we do. Redemption's coming. Everyone, you're going to have 8 billion Noahides, besides for those really evil people that will cease to exist. But everyone else, all the rest of mankind, everyone's going to be a Noahide. Everyone's going to be on board. Everyone's going to be grabbing every opportunity to serve God. And that's wonderful. And that's precious. And that's beautiful. But what was done now, when it's not as obvious, when it's not the rallying call of the world, wow. Is that precious? Does that go with you? And that's like what this is saying. This is what's ultimately precious beyond any silver and gold, even 1 million golden coins, plus all the pearls and precious stones. This is the wealth. This is what's real. You're so fortunate because you know, because you could take advantage. And maybe from this, you could be motivated to turn to other people in your life and try to help them as well. All right. We will stop at this point. Thank you so, so much for joining. I hope we all have a blessed week. And even though we only had a few thoughts today, but hopefully they should carry you through the week.
Yeah.